Hello and welcome to the 12 Months to Marathon podcast with me, John Hill, the running podcast for the over 35s with Marathon Dreams, episode 98. I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by Dawn Caddell. How are you, Dawn?
Oh, very good, thank you.
Good, good. A little bit of background on Dawn. So Dawn has not long ago, as we record this, nearly a month ago actually, as we record this, has just completed the London Marathon in 2026. I worked with Dawn, helping her to prepare for that marathon. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about that. So firstly from me, Dawn, how are you feeling almost a month removed from doing the London Marathon?
Really good, very, very good. Back to fighting fit now, I think.
Yeah.
After everything I went through. Yep.
Yeah,
So
we'll
things
delve into that. Yep. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll talk about
certainly
that.
will. Yeah,
We'll,
yes, so all good, thank you.
Yeah, good. That's good. Then that's fantastic. So, I suppose, firstly, Dawn, what I want to get from you is just give me a little bit of your history, really, with running up until the point at which you got in touch with me for the first time.
Yes, so I've been running, I would say consistently, probably for the past sort of 10 years.
Right.
Maybe a little bit longer. I used to run years and years ago. I joined a running group local to me, but the kids were quite small. And I'd had my daughter and I had three young ones at the time. So time wasn't something I had very much for myself. So that
Mm.
kind of went a bit by the wayside. Managed to pick it back up. I've always really enjoyed it. It's always been a really good headspace for me. So I picked that back up once the kids had got older and I sort of felt I was returning back to me as opposed to being mum, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say a good 10 years consistently. I've done a few races. I belong to a running club. Um, and it's not something I think I can actually do without now.
Yeah.
Mental health wise, I love it. Gives me a buzz. It's a real purpose for me, I think. Challenge and
Yeah.
a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And what sort of distances would you typically run?
Most of my races, I would say 10Ks and halves.
Yeah.
And there's regular ones that we do. I've got a running buddy that I do a lot of my races with, and we generally do 10Ks and halves. A few every year. Marathons, not so many. It's I just more space and time. So yeah, I'd say 10Ks and halves are my favourites.
Right.
That's
Okay.
very more manageable. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And how old are you now, Dawn?
I will be 50. Oh God, 52.
52.
In June. Yeah,
Right. So you would have been 51 when you did 51 when you did the marathon.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
51. Okay.
yeah.
So you mentioned. So did you carry on running when your children were very small?
I did, just not for very long,
Right.
and it wasn't because it was a case of I didn't want to. It was a case of family life just took over.
Hmm.
Um, and I suppose, in a way, when I look back, that was a very long time ago. I think you do. I shouldn't have let it take over
Yeah.
because you can always squeeze in 30 minutes for yourself.
Yeah.
You can, 30 minutes, 2, 3 miles round the block. But for whatever reason, I just didn't. Um, whether that was because maybe my brain was more full up than what my body could cope with. I do
Yeah.
find I have that. I
Yeah.
think the brain tells you can't do something before your body does.
Hmm.
So I think maybe I was just a little bit too overloaded with, the boys were going to clubs and things after school. And then I had my daughter and there was a bit of an age gap. So she was very, very young as they were kind of getting into doing
What's
their
the age
own.
difference? What's the gap?
So my eldest one at the moment is 30, my middle one is 27, and
Right.
my youngest is 22. So
Okay. Right.
you can kind of see, there's 5 years between my youngest and my middle. So as the boys were kind of peaking at doing what they wanted to do and ferrying around, I then had in a car seat and a toddler, and
Yeah.
so it was very, very, very busy life. And I also found that I was working around the children. So I was at home during the day. Well, when my husband was at work, he would come home from work and then I would sort of have a part-time job. So it just became just one extra thing that I couldn't really think about. if that
So
makes sense.
so in timeline terms, you would say you ran up until probably your eldest was born, and then did it fall off from that point, or did you maintain it?
I would say I probably ran while I had the boys, actually.
Okay.
Not so much before I had him, um, because I was a runner at school,
Right.
loved cross country. That I really enjoyed that. Had the boys, didn't really run then, but it was as my middle one got a little bit older, then I picked it up again, and then it dropped off when my youngest was born. So yeah, I did sort of for a few years with the running club, and I think as well I felt comfortable with the running club. It wasn't something I wanted to go out and pound the streets on my own.
Yeah.
Um, so when I heard about this running club that was being set up at the time, it was like, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of have that social circle, have that confidence to be with other people that know what they're doing. Um, and also you don't have to think about where you're running in the dark. That kind of really appealed to me at the time.
Was there ever a gap, like when the youngest, so the youngest 22 now, so obviously 22
Mm,
years ago, was there a gap between when the youngest was born and you running at all, or did you like stop for a prolonged period of time?
no, huge gap.
Right.
Yeah, huge gap.
Yeah.
Um, a good 10 years, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
It was a real long gap, 8 to 10 years maybe. Um,
Okay. So
I
what?
can't remember why I really can't remember why I picked it back up again.
Well, that was my next question actually.
Yeah.
Do you know why? What made you go back to the well?
I don't know. I
Right.
cannot remember. Actually, no, something has sprung to mind. I was looking at doing something with a friend of mine for charity.
Right.
That was it. It was a charity close to her heart, and she asked me to do it with her, and it was a half marathon.
Right.
Um, that's what it was. I remember now.
And this would have been timeline wise about 10 years ago. Like, yeah.
Something like that. Maybe I picked it up a little bit before then, but I know that was my first proper race, if you like. It was a half marathon in London. I think I dabbled a bit before that. But I can't quite remember how long for, but when I think back, that was the major go for me.
Yeah.
That's what wanted me to really get back into it again.
So when you got back into it, your first real foray into back into it was
Mm,
training and doing a half marathon.
yeah,
And would that have been the furthest you'd ran when you did that one?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. It was actually. It was my very first one, and we had no idea what we were doing. None at all. We'd run around the local park and just do laps and,
Yeah.
there was no structure, it was a lot of run walking, absolutely fine. Um, and that's how it started out and, the knowledge grows over the years, which is lovely, but that's
Yeah.
obviously what what I brought you on board for because I wanted to learn more. None at the time.
So, with that bigger gap, I suppose a lot
Mm,
of people maybe that are listening to this, and a lot of people that I speak to, they do have that, whether they're
yeah,
mothers, fathers, work, whatever it might be. Sometimes stuff happens that gives this longer gap, and of
yeah,
course, there's that wonderful thing, the law of diminishing intent, which says the longer you leave something, the less likely you are of doing it. So we know, yeah.
yeah.
So what was it that made you? Is there anything in particular you can put your finger on that said, no, I need to go back to this thing? Was it just the charity thing with a friend, or was there anything
No.
else in
No, definitely it was getting back to me.
Okay.
It was definitely getting back to something I knew that I enjoyed previously,
Yeah.
um, to give me a challenge.
Yeah.
And dare I say, I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but purpose, just something to go out the door for. Um, when you know you're and I think that's why I like doing races because I like to have something to look forward to, something I know I need to race for, I need to train for. It just gives me structure, and I quite
Okay.
that's what makes me tick, the structure, the challenge, um, knowing I don't have a choice. Marathon training, you don't have a choice. You get out that door, whether it's raining, whether it's hot, whether it's windy, whether you can't be bothered. It's like, no, I have to go and do this. I need that structure. And I think that's why I went back to it the way I did to feel like me again, to feel
Yeah.
like Dawn and not mum.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think a lot of people listening will resonate with that. So, how did we get then? So, here's the thing: this is the important question. So, you start running 10 years ago, and for a lot of people, particularly a lot of mothers, just getting out and doing anything is for them is a benefit. But how did we get from that to then following the train, as it were, of run to get to a point of running marathons?
Wow. Um, I think for me, I always strive to just do that little bit more.
Okay,
Uh, if I'm told I can't do something, I'll just go and do it anyway
okay,
because I'm a bit stubborn. And now that I've done a marathon, that being my third, um, I'd actually like to do something a little bit more than that, maybe in the next couple of years. Maybe an ultra or just I don't know. I always think, what can I do? How far can I go? What can I push?
okay. Where does that come from, Dawn?
Um, I don't know. Um, Pure stubbornness. And I don't know why I feel like I always need to challenge myself. I don't know where that's come from because I don't ever remember being like that when I was younger or when I was a mum, let's say. Um, so I don't, there's got to be something there. There must be something sitting in the background, but I don't actually know why I feel like I need to prove that to myself. There's definitely an element of that there.
Okay.
Maybe it's uh, just to show that it doesn't matter who you are, mum, not a mum, woman, wife, you can do what you set your mind to. Um, so I just like to just maybe go that little step further than maybe most others can do.
What do you think then? Because you've made that sound not easy, but very simple in the sense of here's how I see the world. And there's obviously
Mm.
maybe people listening to this who've got a similar situation to you. Because whilst your kids, there was a little bit of a gap, but still quite a close to have three kids in that sort of time. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
what do you think stops people, particularly people very similar to yourself, maybe mothers, from doing that, from having that? Well, I need to do have some time for me. Not necessarily they don't have to go and run
Guilt.
marathons, granted, but
I think
you know,
it's guilt. I think it's guilt as a
okay,
mum.
right,
Um, and I think as well as a mum, even if I said I didn't always have part-time jobs around sort of family time. There was times when they were really, really little that I didn't work. Um, I think you just become, or not, I in particular, you just become really focused on what your job is at that time, and that's
okay,
mum.
yeah,
That's family creator. That's making sure that the house is as it should be. That job never stops
yeah,
as a mum.
yeah, of
It
course,
doesn't. Yeah, yeah. I'm not talking about the dads here. This is about me and my personal experience. And it's time consuming and it's tiring and it's exhausting.
yeah,
So to come, all right, let's say you're staying in that lane. So to swim out of that lane takes such a lot of effort that maybe
yeah,
sometimes you just don't have
yeah, absolutely.
mentally and physically. So it's quite difficult to break away, I think, from being that person maybe that society expects you to be,
Yeah.
that then you think you should be.
And what positive impact do you think that has had on your family?
Me not running or
You
me
running, actually, so
me
you go.
running.
So what I'm
I
interested in here is you actually
Yeah,
going back to it. You say, no, this is important. I am
yeah,
doing it.
I think mental health.
Yeah,
I think it's good for children to see their parents do something that they enjoy, whatever that may be. I
yeah,
think it encourages children, especially with running or, I do like to go to the gym as well, and my kids know that. And 2 out of the 3 of my kids also go to the gym.
right.
Um, so I think it's has such a positive impact on children at any age to see that this is what their parents do, and it's great. It shows them that you enjoy it, shows them that it's good for you. It does have has a positive impact, I think,
Yeah.
on children growing up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good. So we start running timeline again. We start running 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You mentioned that what was it that made you think, right, I need to enter a marathon?
We'd done myself and my running buddy, we'd done a few halves by this point.
Yeah.
Um, and I won't say they became easy. I won't, because it's not easy.
We'll
It's
go
a long
we'll say manageable. We'll go with the word manageable. That's
manageable.
it. Yeah.
It's not easy. It's
Yeah.
a long way.
Yeah,
It's,
easy a lot. Yeah.
it is, it's a long way.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we'd done a few and I was a bit like, what else can I do? How far can I go?
Yeah.
And the next step is naturally marathon. That's, it's
Yeah.
just the next jump up.
Yeah. When did you do your first one? How long ago was it?
Oh, crikey. So that was Brighton. And what was that, 4 years ago, I
4 years ago.
think? Yeah. And then Chelmsford Marathon was 2 years after that. And then obviously the one this year. So, um, yeah. Yeah, I think they just become, I wouldn't say boring. I wouldn't say they become boring, but they just become the norm for us to do.
Yeah. 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 I
Oh,
always like the expression you make your peace with something. So like you make your
yeah.
peace with a half marathon, you're like, "Oh, well, I think
That's
I'm
exactly
yeah.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you've absolutely worded that right. I've made my peace with a half, and it was like, okay, what should we do now? What challenge can we have?
So what was your how was the first one when you did that? What was that
Oh, it
experience
was
like?
horrific.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
horrific.
Yeah.
That's got to be the worst out of the three. Injury wise, was just awful. The training had gone okay. Um, I think looking back, we hadn't really. Had we have stuck to the marathon the way we had stuck to the training,
Yeah.
I might have had a better chance. But I think I felt so good on marathon morning that it was like, oh, maybe let's push it a little bit. Well, kind of know never to do that.
Yes.
Um, Stick to what you know, and we didn't. And my injury flared up so early on in the race. It was just incredibly painful.
What injury was that done at the time?
I had pain. Well, it was an ITB,
Right.
basically overload.
Right.
So I had pain on the outer right knee. I had to walk for the last 6 miles of the marathon.
Right, okay.
And when I say walking was incredibly painful, I couldn't run, but walking was just as painful. It was really quite severe.
Okay.
I should have dropped out. I should have just, but again, I'm going back to being stubborn and kind of just didn't. So it took far longer than I thought or hoped it would take.
What's your time?
Six. I'm probably losing a few minutes, but it was just under 6 hours.
Okay.
Um, so it was awful, and I do feel like I need to revisit Brighton just to show it what I can do
Yeah. To
at some
make your
point.
peace with it, yeah.
My peace with it, yeah. So yeah, it wasn't a great experience. Let's
Okay.
put it that
Well,
way.
this is interesting actually. I want to ask about this because I always go back to my first one, which was in a different way, but was compared to now it wasn't nice. It was not an enjoyable experience for varying
Mm.
reasons. What was it after that? Because a lot of people maybe listening to this have maybe done a race where it's been that bad and then it's maybe put them off. So what was it that made you think, no, actually, I'm not having that. I'm not settling for that.
Um, so as I previously said, I'm stubborn.
There's a theme here. Yep, still been you.
There's a huge theme here, John. I'm very stubborn. I don't like failing, and
Fail.
I felt like I'd failed.
Okay.
Yes, I crossed the finish line, and yes, I got my lovely shiny medal. Amazing. I'd done my first marathon. However, I was very disappointed with how it went, with my
Yeah.
time, how I'd approached it. But look, I can look back now and think, God, the plan we were following was just something that someone had made up. And it was an okay plan, don't get me wrong. Um, but when I compare that to what you provide, it's nowhere, nothing near it. It's so very inexperienced,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
inexperienced. So yeah, disappointed, felt like I'd failed, and I don't like feeling like that. I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So the stubborn part of me was like, that I'm not leaving that there. I need to go again. And I will keep going again until I get maybe a bit of satisfaction
Yeah.
that I want.
So what was different 2 years later, Chelmsford?
Chelmsford was much better. Took an
Yeah.
hour off my time.
Yep.
Um, I actually enjoyed, you can say you enjoy a marathon. I enjoyed it more than I did the Brighton.
Yeah.
Um, Again, there seems to be a theme with this injury, and I'm finding I found between the two, no matter what I did, this injury seemed to kind of just flip. Every half marathon, I never have an issue. Soon as I come out of that, anything sort of over 15, 18 miles, it tends to kind of rear its ugly head. For the whole of the Brighton training, it didn't at all. And then on training on marathon day, it was there, very
Yeah.
manageable, still fine. Run a lot better than Brighton. I was very, very happy. So yeah, much, much better than
What
Brighton.
was it? What happened with the injury on Chelmsford? Anything in Chelmsford with the injury?
Again, it was just maybe the load of the training.
Okay.
And I
But, what I mean is you didn't have any impact in the race itself. Was there any?
no, yeah, I mean, it slowed me down a bit.
Yeah.
It did. But like I say, it was very, very manageable. When I look back on my times for that now, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
I could have done better, but I did look and think, not bad splits. I'm okay with that.
Okay. So then what makes you go again?
So, London
Yeah.
this year, obviously,
Yeah.
and I've been trying for so many years on ballot.
Yeah.
And it's the one that most people want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You hear so many amazing things, and to do something that big and that special where you live. Um, so I'd been trying on ballot, and it almost became like an obsession. Oh, I haven't got in again this year. I haven't got in again this year. And I don't know what made me decide to go for charity this year, but that's what I ended up doing because I got another ballot no. I think I'd been trying for a good 8 years,
Yeah.
and I got another no on the ballot. And I'd always said I wouldn't do charity because I didn't want the stress or the pressure of raising money as well as the training, which is incredibly hard alongside life. Because again, I thought that could be another failure because if I don't raise the money, I'm letting the charity down.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'd changed my mind this year. I can't tell you what made
Which
me
charity,
do it.
Dawn? Sorry, just which charity?
It was called Get Kids Going, and it's
Right.
for disabled children,
Right.
and it's to provide sports equipment for them, to play any kind of sports
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So lovely charity to do that for.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was very surprised, very humbled and shocked at how generous people were. And I raised the money no problem. Like I didn't have to think twice about it, which was amazing because it allowed me to kind of just get on with what I wanted to
Yeah.
get on with, what I
Yeah.
needed to get on with. So
Yeah.
that was really lovely.
Good. So I like to ask this. I like to kind of reverse engineer this one a little bit. So I like to talk about the marathon first, and then the training. So talk to
Okay.
me. Yeah, talk to me about your London Marathon experience.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, it was it was a bit surreal. When I look back at it now and I think, "Oh, yeah, I did that." There's some parts I don't remember. There's
Yeah.
dates that I do.
Yeah.
I almost wanna do it again, like, this year, just so I can soak it up a little bit more. I felt like I didn't soak up enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know
I'm,
what
I'm nodding because that was my experience as well. I didn't.
Yeah.
My first. It was like I needed to go back to really
Yeah,
experience it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing to say, I know, but I feel like I didn't soak it up enough.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I think,
Oh,
sorry
it's
to tangent it,
huge.
but I always like to interject. I think people, when it comes to marathons, my experience is what I think. Obviously, the distance and the track and all the stuff from running 26.2, 48, 2K, whatever it might be, that's over here, and we know that. But actually, I think each marathon experience also carries weight. And I think when you're doing a big marathon, I mean, and we're in the UK, the biggest one of the lot, arguably in the world, certainly in this country, that carries extra weight.
Yeah, it does.
It's
It
a big
does.
deal. It's a big deal.
I was very emotional, I have
Yeah.
to say. I remember you texting me when I went to, pick up my pack, my running number and everything. That was an emotional day in itself. I could have cried. It was so amazing
Yeah.
to experience just that. It was huge what they put on, everything that you can see and do and buy. As you know, I spent far too much.
As we all do.
Um, yeah, it was brilliant. And then on the day, crossing that start line was just such a big moment. It really was. A
Yeah.
smile on my face, and I was having to constantly remind myself, slow down, don't go out too fast, because the buzz that you can feel, it just wants to take you.
And London's a problem because I think you get that. Then
Mm.
the first 10Ks downhill-ish, flat and
Oh,
downhill. So
yeah.
everyone gets far too excited. Yeah, I
Oh,
last time I did it, I got far too excited in that first 6 miles.
it's so
Yeah.
exciting,
Yeah.
and so many people could call out your name. I wanted to change mine by deed poll by the end because it was just, I
Yeah.
was sick of hearing my name. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Um, and it does give you a buzz, and to be there, the buzz is amazing. So I had to really sort of keep checking myself, pull myself back, constantly looking at my watch. Don't be a fool, watch what you're doing. Um, but it was phenomenal. Th- I don't know, haven't done any others elsewhere. I'd love to do more, maybe abroad, and obviously you've got the big uns, but which I've never done. So I couldn't compare, but I don't know if you can compare that to any others. The noise, the support, the crowds was just, I mean, you cannot hear yourself.
No.
You just can't.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. What a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, I often say the last 5K of that, when you absorb it, there's nothing like that. I can't imagine there's a lot. I mean, I imagine like a New York or a
Yeah.
Boston maybe because of the
No.
iconic races in America.
Yeah.
Obviously, when everyone's biased here, but I remember the last time I did it, soaking it all in that last 5K when you come round onto the embankment. I mean, that's just like,
Oh, it's unreal. I
yeah,
mean, I cried a few times along the race. At one point, it was so overwhelming.
yeah,
The crowd noise, it was unreal. And I had lots of family and friends there that day. And to see them all there and their support for me on that day was phenomenal because they knew how much it meant to me.
yeah,
Like to have them all there and to see them along the way, that also obviously was, that was really emotional for me as well. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
was a brilliant day.
yeah,
Absolutely. It ticked every box. It was just, if you're gonna do well, do it. Do
yeah,
London.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
I
brilliant.
think particularly if each of, I think the advice I always give is, yeah, it's good to, and especially if you think that you're going to be a one and done, you
Yes.
might as well you might as well go all in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you want and done, do it if you can
Yeah.
because you won't regret it.
No, absolutely. So there's going to be, obviously this is going to tie in nicely here because the main thing I want to get from you here is like, because your training wasn't a smooth ride, was it?
No,
So let's talk about the training experience.
no, it wasn't. Um, so I started out quite early with my training, as you
Yeah.
know. I came to you earlier than needed and said to you, I want to get into a mind frame. I want to get into a mindset before January. What was it, the 5th?
Yeah, we were in November, weren't we? Was it November we started? Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
maybe.
early, early, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite early. So I had
Yeah.
a couple of months run up to that. I was already at half marathon distance. I've not long done a half marathon. Um, so I wanted to have a nice gentle run up mentally as well as physically.
Mm.
Because I wanted to be in the mindset. I wanted to try and get used to the increase in training around work and family. And that was fine. That went well. Um, that was a nice gentle run up. Had a lovely break for Christmas, and then January. Very excited for that to all kick off. Really couldn't wait. Loved it. And it was all going well right at the beginning. And then, as you know, little things started to just creep in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the first major one for me was when I was doing a half. Um, we tend to book our races the year before, and it just so happened that the half that we booked last year tied in really lovely with the training week.
Yeah.
Just do a half on that Sunday, so it was perfect. And I'd already said, I'm not going all out here. This is my training run, so I need, this isn't a PB week for me. I just need to kind of just get on and do what I need to do.
Hmm.
And I picked up a thigh or a quad strain. Managed the race fine. I could feel it, it kind of come on, and it was there for quite a few miles. Slowed myself down a bit, and then it went the sort of the last couple of miles, and sort of towards the finish. And then the next couple of days, I could kind of feel it just there, and I was like, I'm going to give that a rest for a couple of days,
Mm.
and it just didn't like it. Went to see physio, and it that got worse from there, and I actually had that for a few weeks, I think. And that pain also went into my shin.
Right.
So that got worse, and that took quite a few weeks to go. Yeah.
What point of the training was this roughly? How
Oh,
far in? Do
crikey.
you remember?
It was really important weeks.
Yeah.
So I think we were looking, was it end of Feb, beginning of March?
Yeah, it was about February, I
I
think, as I remember. Yeah.
think it was about that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Um, that problem then solved itself. I had lots of physio. Um, and then I'd also, as you know, as we've spoken about, I've always had this right outer knee issue where I've had load problems. Obviously, something's going on within the chain there, but I spent so long reading up on what I needed to do and physio sessions, and I did lots of band work. I know we spoke about that before. I did lots of band work alongside gym, and that actually I fixed that. That was corrected, and I was so pleased. I was so pleased. I thought, oh my god, this injury that I've been plagued with for so many years has now gone.
Yeah.
This is good. This is where I wanted to be. This is exactly how I wanted to approach London. I wanted to go to London injury free, particularly that injury because it had bogged me down for the last turn. So I was really, really chuffed. Um, and then as soon as I worked through the quad problem, I then had outer knee pain in the left knee. So it had gone from the right to the left after the quad injury. I was absolutely devastated. Um, just carried on with the physio, carried on with a lot of sort of, well, in the end, it was rest. Had to rest sort of a little bit before the marathon, but I knew it wasn't going to be an easy ride then. So everything I'd thrown at it, clearly it wasn't enough. I felt like it was at the time, but it can't have been because otherwise it wouldn't have reared its head.
Yeah. How did you how did you deal with that emotionally? The
Oh
disappointment of that?
God.
And still get to the start line and to still get to the finish line?
Yeah, I don't know. I texted you on the train one morning, same morning that I texted my physio,
I
throw
remember, yeah.
my toys, yeah, throw my toys out the pram.
Yeah.
Um, so lots of tears, lots of anger. Didn't really speak to anyone about it either. I internalized a lot of that. So uh, I think if I speak about something, it makes it more real for me. So that's why I internalized it. And I do that a lot. Anyone that knows me will know that's what I do. I tend to kind of just become a bit of a shell. So I didn't speak about it. And on that particular morning that I texted you, I was getting ready for work, was leaving to get the train, and I announced to my husband, I think I'm pulling out the marathon. So he was, what do you mean you're pulling out the marathon? Well, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't even run 3 miles anymore. And I was devastated, absolutely devastated, pulling myself to pieces. Um, because I knew that if I didn't do the marathon this year, the likelihood is I'm not going to ever do it again.
Bless
I'd,
you. Yeah.
yeah, I'd already, raised all this money for charity, and that's not going to be an option anytime soon because you can't keep. I feel like I can't get gains.
No, it's very difficult to go back again and ask, but yeah, once you've done it
You
once,
know, year on year on year, I just couldn't do it. So I knew this was my only shot. There was no deferral. Couldn't do anything about that.
what was it that so that low point, the low point of,
Mm.
finger on the button, I'm gonna pull out, what pulled you back from the brink? Aside from the charity stuff, what pulled you back from the brink? Because irrespective of
Um,
charity, I'll just caveat that. Irrespective of charity,
yeah,
if you're injured, it don't matter how much money you've raised. If
no,
you know what I
that's
mean? So
right. Absolutely. So it's a case of dialing everything back in.
yeah.
And physio said to me on that day when I threw my toys out the pram and I got really upset, and he was like, "You're not giving up this early. We've still got a few weeks to go. Absolutely not. Let's see what we can do." So it was a case of every run that I did was adding a mile on, adding a couple of miles on, then adding 2 miles on, then adding 4 on, then adding 5 on.
Yeah.
So it was, let's see what we can do in the next couple of weeks. And every time I went out, it wasn't plain sailing. Don't get me wrong. It was painful. And I was setting out on every single run, knowing, praying that it wasn't, but knowing deep down that this was going to flare up again,
Yeah.
just not knowing what mile that was going to come to. And that was really stressful. I found that really difficult. Going out the door, just knowing I was going to be disappointed, knowing I was going to come home with the ump, being disappointed with that run. There was never going to be a good run again. It was just a case of seeing how far I could go and trying to manage it. And that's how I did manage it in the end. It was tough. It wasn't easy because to keep feeling that disappointed and that upset, that was a real strain. It
Yeah, absolutely.
it was just, I was so exhausted by it all and so upset by it all. To keep going was really difficult. But again, I'm too stubborn not to. And I think if it had got to a point where I said to my physio, look, this is all I've managed to do, and he'd said to me, and he did say to me, I'll be honest with you, if you can't do it, I will tell you. That's what I'm here for. So I knew I just had to keep trusting the process that we'd kind of put in place.
Absolutely. Which leads me nicely, and actually, I always ask a couple of questions towards the end of the interview. And one of those
Mm.
questions, Dawn, is what would you say to somebody who is in a position or in the future maybe faces a position like that? And it's common. I mean, I always say about the three people that we did in the program, as you know, in Did London, it was not smooth sailing for all three of you.
No.
What would you say to somebody in that position then? What would you say to them?
Yourself outside of that you do because you just don't know. I could have so easily just given up, thrown the towel in and gone, right, that's it. But then you'll never know. You'll
Yeah.
never ever know. You have to get to that point where you physically know you cannot go anymore, or someone tells you this, you need to look at maybe just not going any further. But I just think that's so important. Yes, it was difficult. The day was hard. My God, did I have to dig deep on marathon day. But now I can say that I did it rather than not. And you just never know. That's the thing. You just never know. I think it's always best to try
Yeah.
and fail than not try at all.
Absolutely. I
And I
agree
did
with that.
fail, still
No.
managed to do it. I
Yeah.
tried, I managed to do it. I was on the start line and I managed to finish, and it was really tough. It was really painful.
Yeah.
But Yes, I would have had it every other way. Of course I would have. I would have liked to have not been in pain, but I can look back and I know I've done it rather than not, and maybe never doing it again.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, another final question I ask is always my philosophical question, which
Go
is,
on.
how has this whole experience changed you, Dawn?
Oh my god. Um, I think it's I don't know about change. Maybe it has because I want to do more. So I'd love at some point to do an ultra. Um, when I'm back to sort of being match fit, I'd really love to push myself out of my comfort zone
Yeah,
again. So I think that's another change. There's another step that I want to go to. I
yeah,
don't know when that will be. I have no idea, and I don't want to put any pressures on myself at this stage. I know I will at some point because that's what I do. I always put pressures on myself, and I'm the only one that does that.
yeah,
Um, so I think it's changed me in that way. I know I can do it. I know I can keep going. I know I can push myself. And I know I can push myself more than I ever thought I could.
yeah,
That's a positive change for me. That's the way I see that. Um, and I just want to keep going, John. That's all I want to do. I want to keep going. I want to surprise myself as
yeah,
well as everyone else.
yeah. Which leads me on to the final question, which you've half answered, which is, what is next for you?
Yeah, definitely an ultra. I'd love to give that a try.
Any distance in mind? Because obviously, for those of you,
Yeah,
if you don't know, technically an ultra is anything over a marathon.
yeah,
It's
it
classed
is.
as an
Yeah,
ultra. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And I think the way I weaved in and out of that day, I probably just peaked that. But
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe a 50K,
Okay.
maybe. I know there's a couple of those knocking around that I've seen before. Um, but for now, rest, recuperation, dial everything back in. I'm just happy to get back out on the road, working alongside a PT just to fix what's gone wrong and get me back to being in a really good shape with no pressure and no stress.
Yeah,
You know, I've got a couple of races booked and that's fine. 10Ks, I've got half towards the end of the year, no problem. But I'm just happy now to sit back, do what I need to do, work at it and get a nice structure and a good base going again.
yeah,
And then go again.
yeah.
I want to
Okay.
be ready to go again.
Absolutely. Anything else from you, Don?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you for everything, John. You've been amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think it's for me, getting back to what you were talking about, really. I think we've talked about this before. I think having that resilience to keep coming back and keep trying. You only fail when you stop trying, and I think you're like what your experience, particularly alongside some other people, is the epitome of that. And you only really fail if you stop trying. And I think if you keep trying, you might get to a point when somebody like a physio, like a professional, says, "You know what, this ain't happening for you, and it's
Yeah.
going to cause you permanent damage." But I think it's finding as many routes as possible to get the job done, and I think that's the key thing here. Because I think you
Yeah.
can always, as a coach, I always say this: you can always work with that. You can work with somebody who's willing to try and willing to say, "I'm going to look at every avenue solution." Because I think what we've got to remember, Dawn, and I think this is a word that I've used a few times with people, is that courage to say. Courage is an amazing human emotion and an amazing vibration to vibrate at as a human being, and not a lot of people vibrate at courage. And courage is this: I will find a way. Not be silly, don't hurt yourself, but I will find a way to make this thing work. And I think you demonstrated that really well. So it's a good credit to you to stick at it, because I remember those conversations we had, and you came into this with a lot of enthusiasm. You came into this with a time in mind that you wanted to do, and when that disappointment happens,
Yeah.
which it can for a lot of people, or I had this conversation with a few people, it's forget the time, let's just get you round.
Yeah.
And it's the courage to just go and do it and accept that and get round and go, I'm going to get this job done. That is a credit to you. So fair
Thank
play
you.
to you. Fair play to
Thank
you.
you.
Fair play to you. And thank you for coming on. I appreciate that. It's going to be very much an inspirational story for everybody, really, about particularly mothers and anybody that's had a gap, because that gap's normal. It happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Priorities and stuff, to come back and do something that you love and make some time for yourself, and that's probably the key message that hopefully people will take from today.
Yeah, so important. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Dawn, and thank you everybody to listening. If you're new to the podcast, you haven't listened to this before, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. That's Apple or Spotify. If you're a regular listener, I do appreciate reviews on Spotify. That really helps me, or drop me a comment in as well. If you like this episode, which I'm sure you will, please do share it with your friends. That really helps me. And if you haven't followed me on social media at 12 Months Marathon, you can follow me over there. Dawn, if they want to follow you, they can find you on Instagram at...
Oh, now you're asking. I have no idea.
No idea. Don't worry. We'll put that in the. We'll put that in this. Yeah. See, we do
We'll
this.
put that in the comments.
Yeah, we'll put it in the comment. I'll tell you what. I'll actually find you now on the podcast because I'm stubborn as well. She's yeah at Dawny C 1234 underscore. So on
There we are.
Instagram. So if you want to drop Dawn a follow, that's at Dawny. It's Dawny C. Or one word, 1234 underscore. We'll pop that in the description as well. You can follow Dawn over there. You can follow me at Tom Monster Marathon. Don't forget to hop over to my bio and click the link in the description to join my free running community for the over 35s, where we can take you away from the noise of social media and we can talk to you over there and give you some support and guidance. So again, Dawn, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. And I'll speak to everyone again soon. Thank you, Dawn.